I thought I knew the sound of my own home until I heard it breaking. For 10 years, I built my life with Lila. 10 years of sacrifice, of 5 a.m. alarms and midnight closings at the restaurant. I started as a dishwasher, with calloused hands and a dream, climbing through every position until I finally owned the place. 60-hour work weeks weren't uncommon. They were my standard. All to create the life we shared, the comfortable home that waited for me at the end of each exhausting day. Lila never had to work. She stayed home, decorated our house, joined book clubs, took yoga classes. When friends asked what she did, she'd laugh and say, "I'm professionally adored," she would tell them with a smile, and I'd smile because it was true. I adored her. I built everything around her happiness. That Tuesday night, I was supposed to be meeting with a new supplier across town. The meeting ended early, a stroke of timing that would change everything. I remember pulling into our driveway and noticing the unfamiliar car parked there. Black sedan, tinted windows. Something in my stomach tightened. Our home sat quiet from the outside, but as soon as I opened the front door, I heard it. Laughter from upstairs. Not just Lila's laugh, which I knew as intimately as my own heartbeat, but a man's deeper chuckle beneath it. I stood in the entryway, my keys still in my hand, listening. The sounds from upstairs became unmistakable. Whispers, the creak of our bed, a gasp that twisted in my chest like a knife. I'd heard Lila make that sound countless times, but never for someone else. My feet carried me to the kitchen without conscious thought. I stood there, surrounded by the stainless steel appliances I'd bought her last Christmas, the marble countertops she'd insisted on when we renovated. Everything in this house came from my work, my sweat, and upstairs she was giving herself to someone else. The sounds grew louder, more urgent. Each one struck me like a physical blow. 10 years of trust collapsed in seconds. My vision narrowed, a strange buzzing filled my ears, and my breath came in shallow gasps. I leaned against the counter, trying to steady myself as my world imploded. That's when I saw it hanging there, catching the dim kitchen light. The cleaver. And suddenly, through my rage and heartbreak, a plan began to form. The cleaver felt heavy in my hand, the polished steel reflecting my distorted face. For a moment, blind rage urged me up those stairs, but then something else took over. The same calculating intelligence that had built my restaurant from nothing. This moment would define the rest of my life. What happened next would determine whether I lost everything or emerged with some measure of control. The businessman in me, the part that negotiated leases, managed inventory, and handled difficult suppliers, stepped forward. I set the cleaver on the counter and pulled out my phone. The voices upstairs continued, oblivious to my presence. Lila laughed again, that intimate laugh that used to be mine alone. I opened the recording app and pressed start, capturing the unmistakable sounds of their betrayal. But audio wouldn't be enough. I needed more. I needed to see their faces when they realized they'd been caught. I needed their complete confession, their humiliation captured permanently. Evidence that would give me absolute leverage. I thought about our life together, how I'd worked those endless shifts while she decorated our home and spent my money, how she'd greet me with kisses when I came home with bonuses or news of the restaurant's success. Was she thinking of him even then? Planning these meetings in our bed while I chopped vegetables and balanced books? The betrayal wasn't just emotional, it was theft. Theft of my trust, my time, my labor. Everything I'd built was at risk unless I controlled what happened next. Upstairs, a headboard knocked rhythmically against our bedroom wall. I fought the urge to vomit and focused instead on strategy. Divorce proceedings, asset protection, reputation destruction. My mind clicked through. The possibilities! I took the cleaver from the counter again, testing its weight. Not as a weapon of violence, that would only land me in jail, but as a prop in the theater of fear. I was about to create. I needed them compliant, terrified, willing to do anything I demanded. Their fear would be my leverage. Their compliance would give me everything I needed. I rehearsed my approach, the sudden entrance, the raised cleaver, the phone positioned to record everything. I practiced my expression in the reflection of the microwave door, not wild with rage, but cold with controlled fury. This wasn't about emotional release. This was about surgical extraction of what I needed. Upstairs, I heard them shifting positions, murmuring to each other. I checked my phone's battery, 83%, more than enough. I slipped it into my breast pocket, camera lens peeking out, and started the video recording. I took several deep breaths, steadying my racing heart. The cleaver gleamed in the kitchen light as I gripped it firmly. This was my house, my life, my future at stake. I took one last deep breath, cleaver gleaming in my grip, phone recording in my pocket, and started toward the stairs. They were about to star in their own destruction. Kicked our bedroom door open with calculated force. The wood splintered around the lock, and the door crashed against the wall with a sound like a gunshot. Lila screamed, clutching sheets to her naked body. Her lover, Dave Matthews, a regular at the country club, froze mid-motion above her. His back to me. I recognized his salt and pepper hair instantly. He'd shaken my hand at community events, knowing all along he was sleeping with my wife. "Don't move," I commanded, my voice terrifyingly calm even to my own ears. I raised the cleaver deliberately, letting the overhead light catch its edge. Dave turned his head slowly, his face draining of color when he saw me. He scrambled backward, falling off the bed and scrabbling for his clothes on the floor. "Jacob, please," Lila begged, her voice high with terror. "This isn't—" "Shut up," I cut her off, my words like ice. "Don't speak unless I tell you to." Dave had managed to pull on his boxers, his hands shaking violently. "Listen, man, I can explain," he stammered. "This was a mistake. It just happened." I laughed, a sound entirely devoid of humor. "Just happened? In my bed? With my wife?" I stepped closer, cleaver raised. "How many times has it just happened, Dave?" "Please don't hurt me," he whimpered, backing against the wall. "I have kids. I'll give you money, anything." My phone captured everything from my pocket. His pathetic pleading, Lila's tear-streaked face, their naked vulnerability. This was my show now, my direction, my script. "Both of you, listen carefully," I said. "I'm going to tell you exactly what's going to happen." I pulled out my phone, showing them the active recording. "Everything, from the sounds you were making, downstairs to this moment right now, is being recorded. Your faces, your bodies, your begging." Lila started sobbing. Dave looked like he might vomit. "Here's what happens next," I continued, placing a notepad and pen on the bed. "You're both going to sign a confession. You'll admit to this affair, how long it's been going on, and how you've been lying to me. Lila, you'll specifically mention how you've never worked a day during our marriage while enjoying the benefits of my labor." "And if we don't?" Dave asked, a flicker of defiance crossing his face. I smiled coldly. "Then this video goes to everyone you know. Your wife, Amy. Your 3 children. Your partners at the law firm. Everyone." His defiance crumbled instantly. "I'll sign it," he said quickly. "Jacob, please," Lila tried again. "We can talk about this. I made a mistake. I love—" "Love?" I cut her off. "Don't insult me with that word." I turned to Dave. "Write it. All of it. How long, how often, where, every detail." With trembling hands, Dave wrote out a confession, occasionally looking up at the cleaver still gripped in my hand. When he finished, I read it carefully, then handed it to Lila. "Your turn," I told her. "Add anything he missed." She took the pen, tears falling onto the paper as she wrote. When she finished, I checked her additions. She'd been seeing him for 7 months. In our bed, in our car, planning their meetings around my work schedule. I felt sick, but kept my face impassive. "Sign it. Both of you," I ordered. They signed with shaking hands. I folded the paper and put it in my pocket with my phone. Then I turned to Dave. "Get dressed. You're leaving." He scrambled into his clothes, not meeting my eyes. "One more thing," I said, when he was dressed. "You promised me anything?" He nodded desperately. I put down the cleaver and delivered a single hard punch to his face. His nose cracked under my knuckles. As he doubled over, I drove my knee into his stomach. He collapsed to the floor, gasping. "That's merciful compared to what I could do," I said, hauling him to his feet by his collar. "Now get out of my house and pray we never meet again." I marched him downstairs and shoved him out the front door. His car peeled away from the curb, leaving black marks on the pavement. When I returned upstairs, Lila had pulled on a robe and was sitting on the edge of the bed, her makeup streaked down her face. "Jacob, I know I've hurt you," she began, her voice softening into the tone she used when she wanted something. "But we can work through this. For 10 years. You have 30 minutes to pack essentials," I interrupted. "Then you're leaving. If you're not gone by then, I'm calling the police." "This is my home too," she protested, a flash of entitlement breaking through her tears. "No, it's my home," I replied firmly. "Paid for with my money, from my business that I built while you did nothing but cheat." I gestured to the confession. "I have everything I need to ensure you get nothing in the divorce." "Where am I supposed to go?" she asked, her voice cracking. "That stopped being my problem the moment you invited another man into our bed," I answered coldly. I checked my watch. 28 minutes now. I stood in the doorway, watching as she moved around the room in a daze, pulling clothes from drawers and shoving them into a suitcase. When she finished, I followed her downstairs and watched as she loaded her car. "Jacob, please," she tried one last time, standing in the driveway. "Don't throw away 10 years. People make mistakes. We can get counseling." I said nothing, just stared until she got into her car. As her taillights disappeared into the night, I realized the show was just beginning. Now came the real work. At 6 a.m., I called Michael Brennan. As my restaurant's lawyer and a regular customer who enjoyed significant discounts, he owed me favors. I explained the situation, sent him the video and scanned confession, and asked him to meet me for breakfast. "This is about as clear-cut as it gets," Michael said 2 hours later, sliding the papers back across the table at the diner. We'd chosen a place across town, away from my restaurant and any potential gossip. "With this evidence, she'll get nothing. No alimony, no property division. We can file for an at-fault divorce immediately." I nodded, relief washing through me. "How quickly can we move?" "I'll file today," he replied. "We'll need to protect your assets immediately. Joint accounts, credit cards, anything she has access to. By noon, I'd changed the locks on the house, reset all passwords, and frozen our joint accounts after transferring the bulk of the money to my business account. I documented every piece of furniture, every appliance, every renovation that had been paid for with my restaurant earnings. My phone buzzed constantly with messages from Lila. "Jacob, please talk to me. I made a terrible mistake. I'm so sorry. Where am I supposed to go? I have no money. I love you. We can fix this." I ignored them all. The video was my insurance policy, not just for divorce court, but to ensure neither Lila nor Dave could retaliate with lies or attempts to salvage their reputations. But as evening fell, I found myself facing a moral dilemma. During our confrontation, I'd promised Dave that signing the confession would keep the video private, that his compliance would protect him from complete destruction. Had I meant it, or was it just another manipulation? I sat at my kitchen table, laptop open, researching Dave Matthews. LinkedIn showed he was a senior partner at a respected local law firm. Facebook revealed his picture-perfect family. Wife of 20 years, 3 teenage children, church membership, little league coaching. His entire life was built on his reputation as a family man and community leader. I prepared 2 envelopes. In the first, I placed a USB drive containing the video and a copy of the confession, addressed to the managing partners at his law firm. In the second, the same contents addressed to his wife. For 3 days, these packages sat on my kitchen counter like loaded weapons while I wrestled with my conscience. My business reputation was built on being a man of my word. Suppliers trusted my handshakes. Employees knew my promises were gold. Even in the restaurant world's chaos, I maintained order through honesty and honor, but the betrayal had fundamentally changed me. The man who had built that reputation died the moment he heard another man's laughter in his bedroom. Dave had made his choice when he entered my home, my bed, my wife. He'd stolen my trust. Why should he keep his intact? I thought of him returning to his family after leaving my house, washing my wife's scent from his skin before kissing his children goodnight. I thought of him sitting across from clients, maintaining his professional facade while betraying the most basic codes of decency. On the 4th day, Lila's messages changed tone. My friend says I'm entitled to half of everything. The house is as much mine as yours. I'll fight for what I deserve. I made sacrifices too. You'll regret treating me this way. I know things about your business. I stared at the threats glowing on my phone screen. 10 years of supporting her, providing everything, and this was her response when faced with consequences. The decision about the packages suddenly became clear. I was still staring at those packages when I heard a key scraping in my front door, the lock. I'd changed 4 days ago. I moved to the front door and pulled it open before the locksmith could begin working. Lila stood on the porch, startled by my sudden appearance. The locksmith, a young man with a toolbox, looked uncomfortably. Between us, your key doesn't work anymore, I said calmly, because this isn't your home anymore. I live here, Lila insisted, her voice rising. You can't just lock me out of my own house. I turned to the locksmith. Sir, I'm the legal owner of this property. My wife and I are in divorce proceedings. I'd advise you not to tamper with my locks unless you want to be involved in a legal situation. The man backed away. I don't want any trouble, he said quickly. You folks need to sort this out. He hurried back to his van. Lila's composed facade cracked as her escape route drove away. She looked thinner, with dark circles under her eyes. Her designer clothes had been replaced by jeans and a plain sweater. Jacob, please, she said, her voice softening. I've been staying on Meredith's couch. I have nowhere to go. My parents won't talk to me after what happened. That sounds like the natural consequence of your actions, I replied. It was a mistake, she insisted. Meredith kept saying how you were always working, how I deserved attention, how all marriages go through phases. She introduced me to Dave at her party. It just happened. I almost laughed at the absurdity. Nothing just happens for 7 months, Lila. That's called a choice. A series of choices, actually. Thousands of moments when you could have stopped but didn't. I was lonely, she countered, tears welling in her eyes. You were always at the restaurant. I made one terrible mistake. 7 months of mistakes, I corrected. In our bed, in our home, while I worked to give you the life you enjoyed, her strategy shifted, tears disappearing instantly. Fine. My lawyer says I'm entitled to half of everything. The house, the restaurant. Your lawyer is misinformed, I cut in. Your signed confession detailing how you contributed nothing while living off my business earnings might interest them, as would the video evidence. Her face paled. You wouldn't. I wouldn't what? I asked. Use evidence of your betrayal? Why not? You betrayed me in every possible way. Because you're better than that, she tried. You're not cruel, Jacob. I wasn't cruel, I agreed. Until you taught me how. I stepped past her onto the porch, the 2 packages in my hand. Without breaking eye contact, I walked to the mailbox at the end of our driveway and dropped them in. The metal lid clanged shut with finality. What did you just do? Lila asked, fear creeping into her voice. 1 package contains the video and confession addressed to Dave's law partners, I explained, walking back toward her. The other is addressed to his wife. They'll arrive tomorrow. The color drained from her face. You promised him. I promised him nothing, I corrected. I extracted what I needed, just like you extracted what you needed from me for 10 years. You've destroyed his life, she whispered. No, Lila, I replied firmly. You destroyed his life. You destroyed our marriage. You both made your choices. Now you get to live with the consequences. What about me? She asked, her voice small. The divorce papers have been filed, I answered. Your confession ensures it will be swift and entirely in my favor. You'll leave with exactly what you brought to our marriage. Nothing. She stood there, speechless, as the full weight of her situation crashed down on her. No home, no money, no lover, no reputation. Goodbye, Lila, I said, stepping back into my house, my sanctuary. I closed the door and heard her collapse into sobs on the porch. I waited by the window until she finally pulled herself together and walked away down the street, shoulders hunched in defeat. In the kitchen, the cleaver hung in its designated place on the magnetic strip. I ran my finger along its edge, feeling its potential, but knowing it had already served its purpose perfectly. Not as a weapon of violence, but as a catalyst for justice. I'd learned that calculated fear accomplishes more than blind rage, and the deepest cuts come from precision, not emotional outbursts. In the end, I hadn't needed to swing the blade to cut away what was poisoning my life. 6 months later, I stand in my kitchen preparing dinner for myself. The house feels different now, cleaner somehow, as if Lila's betrayal had been a toxin gradually seeping into the walls that has finally been flushed away. The divorce was finalized in record time. My lawyer called it the cleanest case he'd ever handled. My savings remain untouched, the house is solely in my name, and the restaurant continues to thrive. I've even opened a second location across town. I occasionally see Lila working at the discount store near the highway. I heard through mutual friends that she tried applying for better jobs, but in our small community, word travels fast. The whispers follow her everywhere. No one will hire the woman who betrayed her hard-working husband while living off his labor. Dave. Matthews disappeared entirely. His law firm asked for his resignation the day after my package arrived. His wife filed for divorce immediately. I heard he moved to Arizona, starting over with nothing but the clothes he packed in his car. Lila still sends messages sometimes. Apologies. Claims that she's changed. Requests to talk, to explain, to make amends. I never respond. The silence, I've discovered, cuts far deeper than any words ever could. My peace isn't about forgiveness. It's about the complete absence of chaos in my ordered life. The restaurant continues to be my focus, my passion, my achievement. I've started dating occasionally, but I'm in no rush. I've learned to value my solitude, to appreciate the quiet of a home that contains no secrets, no betrayals. The cleaver still hangs in my kitchen, polished and sharp. I use it daily, preparing ingredients. It reminds me that sometimes the most effective weapon is the one you never actually have to use. True justice, I've learned, isn't about forgiveness or second chances. It's about ensuring the guilty face the complete and permanent consequences of their choices. Some people deserve mercy. Others deserve exactly what they earn. And that's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment below. Your support helps the algorithm push my content further. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps me keep creating more stories for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.